October the 31st saw an important event in the Federation year, with the launch of our Public Affairs Agenda at a reception in the House of Commons. The event was a great success and was attended by over 160 people, including members, trade guests and over 40 MPs and peers. Our Public Affairs Agenda for the coming year clearly identifies the issues on which we will be campaigning vigorously on behalf of our members. There are 8 key areas on which we will focus, and the document we have produced sets this out clearly, both in terms of where our concerns lay and what we would like to see done. We have chosen these carefully and thought deeply and responsibly, and the result is not a fanciful wish list, but a serious practical list of solutions that will make a real difference to ensure the future health of a sector that is under pressure, and yet which we feel is of enormous importance to the country. As independent small businesses, we have every right to be proud of the service we provide and proud too of the contributions we make to the country, both socially and economically. At a social level, good local shops are a vital part of thousands of communities around the country. As well as being a convenient place to buy all sorts of goods, they offer millions of people a preferred way of paying utility bills, cashing cheques, topping up mobile phones and travel cards, or any number of similar services. For the elderly or infirm, they are a lifeline, but they are so much more, and in many locations the local shop is pivotal to the community life. What we know is that where a community loses its local shop, they are the poorer for it, and that social decline usually follows. In terms of the economic challenges the country faces, we can also be a force for good. Our members already provide employment for over 100,000 people, including thousands of young people. As the Chief Executive of the London Stock Exchange put it, faced with rising unemployment, the country's 4.8 million small businesses, each employing one extra person, is a far easier objective to achieve than each of the FTSE Top 100 employing 48,000. So in making our case in the 8 areas we have identified, we start from a fundamental belief that small retail businesses like those we represent are and can be even more a force for good, both socially and economically. Despite this, we do find ourselves disadvantaged, and our Public Affairs Agenda sets out some steps that we believe will give us a fair opportunity to trade and contribute, and that is all we seek. Today we are publishing our Public Affairs Agenda for the coming year and identifying clearly the issues on which we will be campaigning vigorously on behalf of members. There are 8 key areas on which we will focus, and the document we have produced sets these out clearly, both in terms of where our concerns lay and what we would like to see done. Thank you all again for coming tonight. If you share our views on the importance of the independent shops to our national life, I hope you will add your support to our campaigns. Thank you.
I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight to support your constituents. Wonderful. But I have to say to you, unless your presence here this evening is backed up by action, then we really have a great problem. We can no longer take these good people for granted. They don't work a 38-hour week, they work a 138-hour week. So all I'm asking parliamentarians to do is not forget it, the message 5 minutes after they leave here, but to think about the 8 points which are included in the manifesto. I represent Southend West, which is full of small shopkeepers. And my message to local residents, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Rome is burning. We need help, support now. This is a very precious gift that we have with these small retail outlets. So I do appeal to parliamentarians, please do everything that you can to support this wonderful federation, remembering the words of our president throughout the next year. So 3 cheers for the Federation. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Eat, drink and be merry, and remember you've been framed.
Even we have had problems with increased shoplifting, knife crime, that kind of thing.
A couple of people, they have regular crime once a week.
We have now set up a National Business Crime Forum actually to deal with all these issues on crime.
More shopkeepers were murdered last year in the shops than all the emergency service put together. It's not right that people going to work and working 7 days a week should have to fear for their lives.
2 of my colleagues in the Federation, one in a little village called Bishop Midlam, has had a break-in, and the lady is now afraid to go in the shop by herself.
It's virtually considered like spitting in the street, dropping litter, dropping a cigarette butt, an on-the-spot fine, dog fouling, on-the-spot fine, and stealing from shops, an on-the-spot fine. I mean, it's nearly not an illegal act.
Small shops have it especially difficulty because they've got to invest in things like CCTV. If the windows get broken, the money's coming straight to their pockets. It's not coming from some corporate insurance policy.
To lose one good from a small retailer can wipe out a day's profit.
As the recession bites, people do turn to petty crime. And I would just encourage, shop owners to, take precautions, make sure they've got CCTV.
I think the important thing is a good relationship within a community with the local police force to make sure that they're aware of the issues that there are in that area.
The police aren't working for us voluntarily, we pay them. And I think it's beholden on them to take very seriously when a small independent retailer reports a theft.
The wholesalers, the publishers are affecting the way our businesses run. We cannot dictate our own profitability because at a whim they can wipe 3-4% off a margin. They can increase service charges and we can't pass those charges on with products that are all price marked.
Publisher decides he wants to increase. He can have extra money on it because he can just put the price up. But what we're finding a lot of what's happening these days is we're not getting a share of that anymore. They're putting the price up for themselves and cutting our margin.
There is a sector that does have overhead and costs, so they do need to address those. But I think it's something that MPs across all parties can actually take up.
Obviously, they've not been well served by the Office of Fair Trading, who've taken a view about whether there's enough competition, and they've assumed that there is, even though there doesn't appear to be much competition. No. But that kind of thing, getting the information across, sharing your problems, even if I don't have the solution, I'm going to look for a solution if I know the problem.
We have to pay business rates on top of our normal domestic rates.
Supermarkets, hypermarkets, they're not rated on their car parks. They're not rated on anything. They get that free. People can't park outside my shop for more than 20 minutes.
Business rates are a big part of a business cost, and we have to be aware of that because the danger that we have is that business costs go up too much. They won't be able to employ people, they won't make a profit, and they won't contribute to the tax take of the country.
Tesco opened across the road, so obviously going to be selling papers. I approached John regarding, I think it was an agreement for them not to sell papers.
Yeah.
So that's basically what John helped me with, but unfortunately we didn't have much joy with Tesco. They did not respond.
They will make undertakings in order to sort of get their feet under the table, as it were. They will say anything to a council in order to get their way. They have very clever PR people to represent them. and they have a almost predatory instinct for where they ought to go next.
Local small shops should be able to compete as best they can with the supermarkets. So things like cost of beer and things like that, I think they have to have them at a level playing field so that the local shop has every chance of getting the customers, as does the supermarkets.
When you're paying 35 to 40 pence for a can of beer, and I'm afraid you can't buy a bottle of water in my shop for less than 50. When alcohol is cheaper than water, something's wrong.
That can't be acceptable. We want small independent retailers to have the same opportunity to compete as our supermarkets.
You know, it's up to government to legislate against things such as that.
And they need to make sure that the supermarkets can't undercut them. They can't sell cheap booze.
I think we're the heart of many local communities.
I rely upon them to get my newspapers, you know, first thing on the morning. I rely upon them last thing at night when I'm, you know, on the way home.
When there's a problem, they're interested. Whereas when you go to Sainsbury's, when you go to one of the big retailers, you don't have that local community feel.
They've got an economic benefit to an area as well. They employ people.
Small shops are so important for our local communities that we've got to make sure it works.
Because it's important that we raise the profile, we raise the issues, and we make ourselves heard.
And we need to make it a more level playing field.
I've been asked to take part and actually serve across the counter, so it's something I'm looking forward to doing in the near future.
It's now beholden on parliamentarians such as myself and others in the Commons and Lords now to, in real terms, support our independent small retailers.
We need action and we need it now.
Dave Bruton is right. And what we now need is action. And I can assure you that is what we'll deliver, action. The House of Commons launch of our public affairs agenda for the coming year has got our campaign off to a very positive start, but we know it's just that, a start. We now have to do the real work. That means a lot of detailed action to plan a programme of activity for each of our key areas, to ensure that all the bases are covered, and we develop and maintain the momentum of our campaign activity. The Public Affairs Committee have started this process and will soon publish a comprehensive plan which delivers our objectives. And they will use the opportunity of our public affairs reports to National Council to keep you appraised of our progress against the agreed plan, together with regular updates through our email cannon and website. But don't think you can just leave it to others. The success of our campaigns depends on all of us working together to achieve our goals, and there is so much more that you and all members need to do. Get your MP involved. Let him know how important this is to you, your customers and the community. Sign the government's e-petition calling for a referral of the newspaper and magazine industry. Use the Press for Reform website to comment and let the world know your views and opinions. Visit NFRN Online for news and information and the useful downloads it contains. And attend your district and branch meetings to get the views of others and plan local activities. And tell us how we can support you. We've reorganised and strengthened our public affairs team, with Graham Collins supporting the excellent work Nikki Hayward does. Their joint experience and skills will ensure that we get our arguments across clearly and effectively. They are here to help you. If we all work together and use all our resources, I know we will make progress on these important issues. So please make sure that you get behind our efforts and support fully all initiatives we undertake on your behalf.